friends, it's Miss Sarah and welcome to another round of First Chapter Friday. Today we're going to read the beginning of The Mossheart's Promise, and this is by Rebecca Mix. It's a sci-fi fantasy book and it's really cool. So it is about a 12-year-old fairy named Ary Mossheart, or she goes by the nickname Ary. So this giant mold took her papa, and her grandmother is a super magical fairy, one of the top ones, and she couldn't find a cure. And they were starting to live with it, but then Ary's mom got sick, so she decided she's going to find that magical underground lake that they've heard about that can help heal. So Ary goes on this mission to find it, and she does find it, and it's completely bone dry. There is no water. So what she does find is a giant secret that her grandmother knew about, that they are actually living in a giant terrarium. Not out in the forest in their own little world, but in a giant terrarium. So it is now up to Ary to figure out why they are there, why they haven't left, because they have no water and pretty soon there's not going to be a place to live. So she has to solve this mystery and save her family. And she also has a really cute, and you'll see it on the cover, a little pill bug as a friend. Like, how cute is that? All right, so chapter 1 is the terrarium. When the terrarium was freshly planted, the soil damp, the mushrooms not yet sprouted, and the walls free of slime, the gardener held the first fairies of Terra in her palm and told them of their future. Someday the world will be safe again, but for now you must live in secret. You must hide. The fairies huddled together and shivered. They would miss the sun. They would miss the rustle of the trees, the dew that gathered in great beads on the grass, the gentle touch of an early dawn breeze. How long, one asked, how long will we know when it's safe to leave? The gardener held up a seed. To the fairies it might as well have been a boulder. Magic crackled in the air. One day, when the swamps are filled with frogs again, when the deer returned and thistles bristle in the woods, this world will welcome you back. My magic will sustain you for 100 years. When the century has passed, the flower shall bloom, and its petals will set you free. The gardener's voice grew stern. You must leave when the flower blooms. After 100 years, the magic will fade, and the terrarium will begin to rot. They took one last flight around the gardener's cottage and then waved goodbye as she lowered them into their new home. With only a few trustworthy fairies remained, the gardener leaned in, her voice low. Time dulls even the sharpest memories like water over rock, she warned. Keep this secret and keep it close. Should the seed fail, seek Atlas. But be warned, freedom will come at a terrible cost. The fairies promised. The gardener sealed the terrarium, and it was only then that she wept. She had filled the terrarium with the softest moss, the smoothest rocks, the hardiest mushrooms, the gentlest bugs, and the clearest water she could find. She's woven only the most loving magic into every corner of their miniature world. Still, it did not feel like enough. The first generation of fairies guarded the seed carefully, as did the second and the third. But with each year, their memories faded. They stopped telling stories of the sun, the trees, and the breeze. They stopped remembering there had ever been an outside world at all. And one year, when the remnants of the world were little more than cobwebs clinging in the fairies' minds, the seed was handed down to a young fairy guard. One day, this seed will open, the one before her said. Our home will be destroyed and we shall be forced to flee. The young fairy was terrified. She loved their home. She loved the mushroom trees, the moss fields, and the great cold lake. What could be better than the world they already knew? The seed would have to be destroyed. First she tried to smash it, but it would not break. Then she tried to burn it, but no flame would take. So one night the fairy carried the seed to the lake and threw it in. The current snatched it up and away the seed went, past the algae, past the newt caverns, the water beetles, and the bones of fairies long lost. It was still traveling when the fairy turned to leave, a satisfied smile on her lips and a secret in her heart. Down it went, carried by the waters, until it reached the very bottom of the terrarium, where no light reached and nothing grew. Years passed, and there the seed waited as the fairies and newts and beetles above it warred and toiled in the ever-constant gloom of their terrarium, generation after generation, until the magic ran thin and brittle, and the mold crept in. Until one day, beneath countless layers of soil, bones, and garbage, the flower bloomed and died. The next part starts with 199 years later, so if you'd like to hear what happens in this terrarium and you would like to know what Ary, or Canary, is going to do to save her family, you can give us a call in the children's department or come visit us to check out the Mossheart's Promise. Have a great Friday, friends. Bye.